If you're here for the EdM and counseling program info session, you're at the right place. If you're not, you're at the wrong place, right? So you might want to exit now, but hopefully everyone's here and who
But
wants to
maybe
be here.
after this, they'll be convinced that this is the right place.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So one thing that makes, I think, our program really unique is our 3 concentrations. And they're listed in front of you. These are the 3 concentrations. One of the things that students will ask a lot, so I'm going to cover it here, is you do have to be able to identify what concentration you want to apply to when you submit your application. So you don't do it once you're in the program, because we actually have a set amount of slots for each of these concentrations. So do research ahead of time. Again, we'll talk about how you can meet with students, current students, and even faculty after this meeting, if you want to get a better sense of what track is really going to fit my career interests and goals. Okay, so I will say for the sports counseling sports psychology concentration, I would say that's our most intense concentration, but you see that students walk away with eligibility for 2 licenses. They'll be licensed in mental health counseling as well as the CMPC. And this is where I'm going to hand this off to Professor Ward to talk, because you might be thinking, what is the CMPC? So Dr. Ward, can you talk about that?
Sure, yeah. So the CMPC is the Certified Mental Performance Consultant certification. So not quite licensure, but it's a certification. So it's a credential that's offered by ASP, which is the Association for Applied Sports Psychology. It's the kind of primary governing professional organization of sports psychology in the United States. So in the sports psychology concentration, you're meeting all of the requirements for the child and adolescent mental health track, in addition to the additional requirements for the CMPC certification. So what that entails is 5 additional classes and then 4 semesters of additional sports psychology practicum. Anything else? Yeah, I think that's the kind of the main gist of it. So we do, I think Bobby may get to this, but we do have students that sometimes will apply, or, once they're in the program, they're interested in a kind of a dual concentration. But for sports psychology, that's already built in. So it already is the dual concentration of sports psychology and child and adolescent mental health.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk about dual concentration in the other 2 areas in a bit. But what you want to look for is the license in mental health counseling. How does that differ than a school counseling concentration, like the child and adolescent mental health? The license in mental health counseling licenses you for independent practice. So this means that one day, if you're interested in it, you can have a private practice, right? Obviously, you can work in a hospital, you can work in an agency, you can work in a community center that provides mental health services, you can work in a school, you can even work at a university here, like BU in their counseling program, or at your university has counseling services there. That's the license you're generally looking for. And so I just want to make that clear. The school counseling concentration, you're eligible for school counseling licensure, but that primarily license you to work in a K through 12 school setting. So it doesn't allow you to work independently. So in the future, if you decide, I'm done with my school day at 3:30, I'd like to practice counseling after that, can I do that with a school counselor license? You actually can't. And so some of our students arrive here knowing that, and they're fine. They know that that's what they want to do. They want to work in a school, and that's the degree, that concentration they're going to fulfill. But some of our other students get here and they're like, no, I didn't know that, but I think I wanted to practice independently. There is a way for you to complete a dual program in child adolescent mental health and school counseling. We don't really advertise that. It's something we do in-house, just because students don't always know until they're here, what they actually want to do post-graduation. And so that's a potential pathway for some students as well once they're here. Okay. I'm going to go to the next slide. Oops, why won't it let me do that? Okay, I think what makes our program I think, wonderful is a supportive community that we have here. I'm going to highlight this on our second slide because we are really intentional about this. Not just me as a program director, but the faculty as a whole. Um, we believe in this because we understand how difficult it is to work in this field. Meaning, I mean, everyone's coming here in human services, really wanting to make a difference. But you're going to be tackling a lot of challenges through the program, but also through the work you're going to do. And we believe that to do it well, you have to have a community that is supportive. You know, and what does that look like? It looks like a community that allows you to be open, to share your experiences, to start building trust with your peers so that you can be vulnerable in the classroom, to not feel a sense of competitiveness with your peers. So we're very intentional about building a supportive community. I want to let you know that our faculty are readily available and accessible when you talk to our students. For me, for example, I'm reaching out to my advisees pretty often. I generally reach them before they reach me. So, but every faculty member here is excited about working with students, and even as busy as we are committed to being available. Once you are admitted to the program, and you commit to the program, you'll be assigned an academic advisor, and that would happen in May. So even well before you arrive on campus, you'll know who your academic advisor is. You're able to reach out to them to ask questions even before you arrive in the program. For example, if you curious about how you should spend your summer before you start the program, should you be doing reading and in what area? Those are things that you could talk to your advisor about even before you start. We also have what is called the BU Buddy program. And this is really a student-led program, but it kind of gives you a sense of how committed the students are when they are in this program and how they are to new students coming into the program. At the same time, when you commit to the program, you will be assigned a BU Buddy. And this is a student who has advanced standing in the program, whether they're a second year or they're a part-time student. They could be 2 or 3 years into the program. And they will kind of give you the student perspective of the program, right? Questions you may be asking them is, for example, how do I find housing? Where should I live if I'm not familiar with Boston? So these are questions that you can field them even before you arrive. But once you arrive, this is someone that you should be meeting up with regularly, whether it's for coffee or for lunch. They could really talk to you about, if you take Professor Ward's class, this is what she's like, this is what she expects, or Professor Bowie's class or Professor Hesse's class. They can give you a better perspective of what students' experience is. We intentionally foster a supportive environment. When I talk about admissions in a bit, we do admit a pretty talented group of students that have achieved in a lot of areas. And sometimes we sense that students come in and they feel that they need to compete. But in all our classes, faculty will remind you about what we value in this work. Sure, getting A's are important to many people, but really doing good counseling is even more important. And that really involves being able to trust the people that you're in class with and feeling that they have your back. Okay. And so one thing, why is that freezing? Okay, and the last thing we have is another student led initiative is our student group Cosito, which is Counselors of Color in Training, and their focus is just creating a safe space for counselors of color, whether you be a student who's domestic to the United States or international. I would say even as we made a lot of progress in the field, the number of counselors of color in the field overall is still pretty low. And so at BU, we're always looking to diversify our student body, but also when they get here, really provide them with support. And this is just one additional area of support that our students of color receive. right? And again, that is a student-led initiative. Uh, Dr. Ward or Professor Hesse, do you want to add anything to this?
I'll add, one of our BU buddies recently told a group of first year students in the sports psych concentration, and I really appreciated this. She said, the the work of counseling is not intellectually difficult. You all aren't learning how to be rocket scientists. You're not entering, a biomedical engineering, like these things that my brain can't even fathom how you learn how to do that work. It's not intellectually difficult. But the work that you have to do on yourself and how to engage interpersonally and really provide the support and the care that you need to your clients is really difficult work. And that supportive community is so important. To have a class of peers where you feel like, you can admit when things don't go that well, or you can say, like, I'm just not comfortable with this client or this concept, or I'm really struggling in this way. What a cool environment. What a great place to kind of learn and push yourself in that way. So I think about this supportive community, given that we're a counseling program, is absolutely essential and so, so key. Our students just really appreciate it.
And I also see Dr. Malord is here. Dr. Malord, can you say hello? Dr. Malord is brand new to BU, but please introduce yourself to the people here.
Yes, hi. Can you all hear me okay?
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay. My name is Dr. Malord. I am a new lecturing faculty at Boston University. Previously, I was at the University of Missouri for my PhD. I've worked in New York, Manhattan, the Bronx, Brooklyn, and I went to Fordham for my master's in mental health counseling as well. So excited for you all taking this step in your journeys. And yeah, if you all decide to come here or decide to apply, feel free to reach out, and looking forward to connecting with you.
Thank you. So a little bit about our admissions data, because people have emailed me about this question a lot. I guess a lot of people have. So last year we had over 400 applications, and this is pretty typical of years, recent years. I would say in the last 6-7 years, the number has been around 400, a little over 400. I think the COVID year was exceptionally high. I think we had about 475 applications that year. I think people had more time. They weren't traveling. Our goal each year is to establish a cohort of 45 to 50 students across the 3 concentrations, with sports and child and mental health being the larger of the 3 concentrations, and then the school counseling being the smaller concentration. And looking at that, you probably have to understand that we can't accept every applicant who's qualified that applies. So we will spend some time talking about how you can make your application stand out, right? And so that is the next slide, which is the application review. We're going to be as transparent as possible about what we look for. But the first thing is every application is thoroughly reviewed by at least 2 members of the faculty. So it isn't one person sitting there making the decision. It's 2 people reading your application. And it's a holistic review, meaning we're not just looking for one thing in your application that makes you stand out, or if you hit a certain GPA, or we're not looking at, we're just really looking at the entire application. And when you have 2 sets of eyes in it, people, obviously there's some subjectivity in that, especially when people are reading essays. And so making sure that we are choosing students who are going to be a good fit for the program and who prepare themselves well for the program. Okay. Professor Ward, anything to add to that, or Professor Hesse, who've been reviewing applications with me? Any thoughts on that, or no?
Not yet, no.
Okay. Priority is given to applications received by January 15th, the January 15th deadline. Okay, so please, if we're like one of your top choices for a program, apply by this deadline. I would say a majority of the people who apply by this deadline is who's accepted into the cohort. Obviously, once we give up seats, they're given up, right? So apply by this deadline. And also, I would say majority of the students, almost all the students who qualify for scholarships, and these are merit scholarships, have to apply by this deadline. And these are not small scholarships. I just want you to know, and last last year, 60% of students who were admitted were offered a merit scholarship. Okay, so and these merit scholarships are for both years you're in the program. So your first and second year in the program, they're a huge chunk of financial support if that matters to people. So apply by the January 15th deadline. You all have to write a statement of qualification or objectives. This is what our missions office kind of calls this statement. Other institutions call it a personal statement. In the statement, this is a really important piece of your application because many of you are going to come with strong transcripts, academic records, and we're because it's a holistic review, we're going to look closely at your essay and see if you're a good fit for the program. And so one of the things that I really want you to do is really clearly convey to us why counseling psychology. And if you're going to choose a concentration, why that concentration, right? What have you done in your life? What courses have you taken, experiences that you had has informed you that this is an important area for you to study? And also the other piece is, what do you hope to do after you get this degree, right? Put some thought. It's not like you have to commit to that, but we want to see how your life trajectory has led you to make this decision, right? Anything else to add? Other instructors who are here today? No?
I would say you're allowed to show some personality here. I think we want to see you kind of come off the paper. We want to understand who you are as a person. So again, this is not just a restatement of a resume. We can see, you know, we have access to, as Bobby said, your transcripts, your kind of academic record. We really want to know who you are as people. And this is where you get to show us that.
You also have to complete an equity inclusion statement. You know, this idea of why does equity, why does a sense of belonging matter to you? And I would say, show us through your life experiences. Just don't say that this is my values. I value this for this reason. Show us where in your life has equity really mattered. In most cases where you didn't see equity, right? Why does inclusion matter, right? And again, show us from your life experience where this comes up, right? So whether you grew up in a very diverse culture or a more homogeneous culture or region, talk about this in a real way. Let us know why this matters to you, okay? Anyone want to add to this? Other instructors, faculty?
I think, you know, there's two ways to think about this, and kind of what I look for is the action. Like, do you have any action? Are you, you know, deeply committed to any kind of advocacy work, or have you volunteered in with certain populations that really show that you're thinking about inclusion and equity, but also the kind of thought process? Like, we want to see that you're thinking deeply about this. And so think about both of those parts, the action and also the kind of reflection and thinking about how this has impacted your life or impacted, you know, people that you know in really important ways.
And when I started this meeting asking people to put where they are from into the chat, just because you're going to walk into a cohort of people from all different backgrounds, you know, socioeconomically, geographically, culturally, ethnically, religious or spirituality. And the idea is to build a really supportive community, but understanding how to do that and having some insight in how to do that ahead of time is really what we want, right? We want you to be able to come in from day one, really wanting to learn from your peers, being open to that, because it's going to make the work a lot easier, because you will never know who the client will be that you'll be working with or the patient that you'll be working with in the future. But if you have this in you already, with the training here and the community here, we can really prepare you to do well. Letters of recommendation, at least 2. You can submit 3 if you want. Some people submit more than that, but at least 2. Get letters from people who can say a lot about who you are and your character. Don't get letters just because someone has a fancy title, like a dean that you've met a couple of times or a professor who's well published in the field. If they don't know you and it's a short general letter, that's pretty considered a weak letter. We're really looking for some depth, someone who knows and can speak to who you are, who's observed you in some setting, can say, this is why this individual is really special. This is why this individual deserves a seat in your program. So when you're thinking about who should write my letters for me, think about who really can say a lot about you. And this could be if you've worked, for example, at Starbucks for 3 years, and the person that has managed you knows you really well. They know that you show up, that you're reliable, that you're good with customers in difficult situations, or handling tension, or being a team player. If they can say all those things about you, right, and observing you, then that's a really good letter. It doesn't, people sometimes go for just the one traditional letter from a faculty member who you got an A in their course. That probably won't be a letter that's going to somehow stand out, because it won't tell us really who you are. Okay. Transcripts and resumes. I would say with your transcripts, most people have, strong academic records if they're considering grad school, but we all here as counselors know that life happens. And so maybe you had a hard year in college, or a hard semester, or whatever, and that there's a grade or a time in your college career that you felt didn't really reflect your abilities, your academic abilities. It's okay to even include a section in your personal statement to talk about that. We're in a field that we want to understand. We don't want to have to make assumptions about what happened. So if you had something in your transcript that you feel that's worth explaining, please do that. We'll definitely take that into consideration. Spend some time with your resume. Think about all the things you've done in college. Sometimes people forget to write things down, experiences you had, trainings that you've been through, accolades. We do remember, it's a holistic review, so we're looking at everything that's there. So put some time into that resume. Just don't submit something that you submitted for your last job. Think about, this is a counseling program. What do they value, right? So if you were a camp counselor all through high school, those are things we want to see, right? That we want to see that, oh, these people have worked with, they've worked in human services. They like being with people, etc. Other faculty want to add to this application review? Dr. Millord?
Sorry, I was looking for my unmute button. Yeah, I think for me, the one thing I would say, I love your comments, Dr. Bowie, about letters of recommendation. I would say definitely think broadly, and also in terms of subject, don't be limited to like counseling related topics or things that you think are an obvious fit. So I would say really focusing on that relationship. For me personally, when I applied for my master's, I had an English teacher that I really struggled in their class. And I would go to their office hours and like rewrite, and they were able to tell a story about my perseverance, my hard work ethic. And so even though it wasn't a traditional, oh, I got a clean A, it was more so about my process in their class. And it was English, but they were talking about writing and just being able to do that work and my process as a student. So being able to think about it like that too, I would throw in.
Excellent example, Dr. Millord. I think that's great. Definitely shows someone's character, right? Right. So opportunities you have beyond this session. I mean, we have an hour here and there's lots of people. So if it would help you to, make a decision whether you can apply, and even if you are admitted, after you admit, and you want to meet with a current student, specifically maybe in a concentration that you're curious about or interested in, you can reach out to Professor Ward or myself. I'll share our emails in a bit, and we connect you with students. You can even meet with a faculty member through Zoom. I will say, if you're going to meet with a faculty member through Zoom, I don't ask them general questions that you could ask the admissions office or the program director. Really ask them about, you can go on their website, find out about their research interests or their professional interests. And so finding out more about that can make help you make a decision whether to apply or not. So you can reach out to me and I can definitely make the introduction. If you're in the Boston area or are visiting the Boston area, things we have offered to applicants in the past is a tour of the campus. If the day you're here, we can arrange for you to sit in a class, we'll do that. And then you can meet with one of us in person, right? And that's something else. These are other opportunities we can offer you beyond this session, okay? And Dr. Millord, I didn't know you're going to be here today, but I will forward any requests to meet with you to you. But this is my email. It's bobbybowie@bu.edu. So very easy to memorize or just to jot down. I will field questions and support students who are interested in the mental health and school counseling concentrations. And Dr. Ward will do that for sports psychology. So please somewhere write down her email. That's what you're interested in. And yeah,